Welcome to Who's in STEM. I'm Ken Ono, your host and the STEM advisor to the Provost and the Marvin Rosenblum Professor of Mathematics at UVA. Our goal is to evoke flights of imagination and wonder by showcasing the cornucopia of all that is STEM at UVA, the marvelous world of UVA science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, it's freezing outside in Charlottesville, and there's snow on the ground. It snowed yesterday. The roads are icy. And so this episode, I think you'll really enjoy because it might remind you of the sounds of summer, which perhaps seem like a distant memory. So what are the sounds I'm talking about? I think you'll know them, but certainly our guests today really know them. I'm talking about the sharp blast of a whistle cutting through humid air, or the whoosh of an athlete slicing through chlorinated water, and by the way, at 5:30 in the morning, and then again at 3:30 in the afternoon, and then rinse and repeat the next day, and then the next day, and so on. I'm probably talking about 2 workouts every day, maybe 13 a week. I'm talking about pros. Now, it's hours and hours in the pool when no one else is watching. It's kickboards and lactate sets. It's goggles so tight that they leave marks on their faces for the rest of the day. But for some of our athletes that we're talking today, it's also college midterms, graduate examinations, squeezed in between these practices, where, not to mention, there are also bus rides and ice baths and, well, coaches' meetings. And somehow, out of this grind, here in Charlottesville, Virginia, out of the monotony and this unforgiving rhythm, you get something that is far from ordinary, perhaps even far from extraordinary.
This is the Gretchen Walsh that we've seen.
It doesn't look like there's any doubt she's going to win this race. The U.S. will win their first gold medal.
Another gold medal to Claire Curzan of the USA.
But Kate Douglas is going to win the Olympic gold for the U.S.
I'm talking about world records that reset what was humanly possible. Can I say that again? By definition, a world record is an achievement that has never been achieved before. No human being has ever gone faster, ever. Of course, for this group, world records have become commonplace, and they're often breaking their own records. I'm also talking about Olympic medals that light up the world stage. Now, on top of that, it's not just these individual glories. There's a huge team aspect behind all of this. For those of you sports fans, relays, they're awesome. And I think the athletes that we're talking to today will tell you how much they love the team component, being part of a team, swimming the 400 medley relay with 3 teammates representing their country. And about a year ago, I think many of you were probably glued to the TV. If you weren't lucky enough to be in Paris, like I was, you probably saw some of these relays that make an entire nation and fans in the University of Virginia hold their breath in anticipation for what became reality. Here at UVA, we've watched a generation of swimmers turn dedication into dominance and turn the University of Virginia into one of the centers of gravity in world swimming, which is, I think, quite appropriate since our last episode was about black holes, right? You know, nothing escapes from black holes. That's one of the most awesome things about the universe as a laboratory. You might not know this, but a third of the U.S. national team has set its roots at the University of Virginia. And a popular swim magazine wrote an article a few weeks ago after doing a calculation, one which escaped me, is that the UVA athletes on average set an American record once every 9 days in the last year. Obviously, that means we're not talking about 1 or 2 records. We're talking about continuous improvement, raising the bar of the sport. And as a scientist, it's been my great honor and pleasure to somehow be part of all of it, thinking about performance, data, human potential. And, well, this is not what the frontier can be. This is what the frontier is. So today on Who's in STEM, we're going to go behind the times, we're going to go behind the scoreboard, and reach into the lives and minds and journeys of our beloved swim team. So please join me in welcoming Todd DeSorbo, UVA head coach and Olympic head coach for the women's team, Claire Curzan, Kate Douglas, and Gretchen Walsh.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Hi, happy to be here. Hi, this is Gretchen. Thanks for having us on.
Can we say that we're supposed to have Alex Walsh here too?
Maybe you could tell us why Alex isn't here.
Who wants to take that one?
I guess I witnessed it in person, but Alex, we were just at US Open competing in Austin, Texas, and on Sunday, Alex and I were flying back. Our flight was at 10. It was like 8:30 at the kiosk. We were at the airport, and Alex realized she never booked her flight home. So she is driving up from Nashville, Tennessee, where we're from right now with my dad. Maybe we'll be 8 hours late to this podcast.
We miss you, Alex. Alex was actually on our podcast about a year and a half ago, our graduation special, which you might not know, in addition to being a world champion, she graduated from UVA with a degree in computer science. So everyone on stage today is very math, quant, STEM-oriented, and that's one of the things I love about this particular group and this team. So before we dive into the medals, I want to get a couple things out of the way. So I'm going to go around the room and ask each of our guests to introduce themselves and answer true or false. Are you a world champion?
Hi, I'm Claire Curzan, and yes, I'm a world champion.
Hi, I'm Kate Douglas, and yes, I am also a world champion. And I'm Gretchen Walsh, and I'm also a world champion.
So before we dive into the medals and the world records and all the other stuff, I'd like each of you to just give an airport version of who you are, where you grew up, what event you swim, and how you ended up at UVA.
Well, hi again. I'm Gretchen Walsh. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I swim now sprint freestyle and butterfly, so the 50 free, 100 free, 50 fly, 100 fly. And I think I can say 50 fly now that it's an Olympic event. And I came to UVA because of the great education here. My sister had committed here, which I wasn't actually too excited about following her to college, but it's ended up being the greatest gift. And also obviously the swim program, the team, the atmosphere, it was undeniably the place I was meant to end up.
Hi, I'm Claire Curzan. I'm originally from Cary, North Carolina, and I swim the backstroke, so 100 back, 200 back, and then I dabble in some butterfly and freestyle. And I ended up at UVA. I originally did my freshman year at Stanford University and then transferred to UVA for a multitude of reasons, but mostly to be closer to home and also to be a part of something historic like UVA swimming. And I'm going into my third year now, and I'm really excited to have one more year of eligibility.
And you're quite modest. When you say you dabble in butterfly, I'd like to point out that you currently hold the world junior record in 50 fly.
Hi, I'm Kate. I am from Westchester, New York. And the events I swim right now are 50, 100 free, 100, 200 breast, 200 IM, sometimes 50 fly. I like to mix it up a little bit. And I mean, I chose UVA for so many reasons. I think I fell in love with the vibe of the team culture, just the kind of balance between academics, athletics, and just a good college life. And I'm also just an East Coast girly. And so I really do just love it here in Charlottesville.
Great, thanks you guys. Todd, tell us your story. Who is Todd DeSorbo?
Yeah.
Where are you from? Who are you?
I'm from Salisbury, North Carolina. I got my accounting degree in college, my master's in accounting. Worked for Deloitte for 6 years, did tax consulting, and then did a 180 plus about a 70% pay cut to get into coaching. Started coaching in 2006 at UNC Wilmington for 5 years, and then NC State for 6 years, and then
You guys want to know an interesting fact about the number 24? I'll tell you an interesting fact. So the prime numbers are the numbers that are only divisible by one in themselves. 2, 3, 5, 7, and I'll spare you the list because it goes off to infinity. Pick any prime number except from 2 or 3. Say 11. Square your prime number and subtract 1. 11 squared minus 1, 121 minus 1, is 120. That's a multiple of 24. No matter what you choose for a prime number, 13, 17, square it, subtract 1, it's a multiple of 24. It's a very special property of the number of 24. Maybe nobody at all will care about that fact, but it's one of my favorite numbers, and I've gotten a lot of mileage in my career out of just being aware of facts like that.
I'm going to
really
use that. I'm
interesting,
going to use that.
actually.
I've got a guys' night dinner on Thursday. I'm going to use that. I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay, and I'll give you the proof if you want it later. All right, Todd. So I want to start with you. You've built a dynasty here at UVA, and you've coached the U.S. Olympics, the women's team as a head coach, two-time coach actually for the Olympics, and you've been named Coach of the Year. How would you describe this group, to anyone who only knows the results, who only knows the names?
Well, first of all, we missed Gretchen. How many world championship medals have you won,
I'm
Gretchen?
sorry.
It's okay. It happens here.
I wanna know.
And
I
on
don't know either.
ACC Network. No, I did some research beforehand, and I got 13 world championship medals and 4 Olympic medals.
I will spare you any interesting facts about 17, but Todd, so back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, first, as the introductions, when they all introduced themselves and said they were world champions, I mean, it's not often where I hear that kind of thing, or I'm in a room with all of them all at once, and it's pretty extraordinary to have this many talented athletes in one location, particularly, some of them still undergrads. But I think being at the Olympics the first time around in 21 really made me think about what goes into the accomplishments that all these athletes achieve year to year. People watch the Olympics. Swimming is the most watched Olympic sport every 4 years, but they only see the results. They only see the medal, a world record, or whatever that might be. And when you think about it behind the scenes, we see, well, in the moment, a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations, how they handle that. But more so, we see everything they put into it every day. You mentioned in the introduction the hours and hours of work they put in, every day, every week, every month for, what could be a 23-second race. And that 23-second race could, be determined by 1/100th of a second. And it's years of preparation, putting into that. And, we see it every day. And I've said this on occasion, but watching what they do in practice day to day, they're my heroes. They are superhuman. They do things that most people couldn't imagine. And if somebody came and watched our practices, they would be blown away. We have U.S. national team coaches who come in and watch our practices, and they're like, holy cow, I've never seen anything like that.
That's why a third of the national team is here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
UVA is Team USA.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Now, there's so many stories, and let's just kind of dive in. Claire, you were already a teenage international star. And I remember when you came here on your first recruiting visit, we were really hoping you would come here and swim for UVA. And then you went off to Palo Alto for a short stop. What's it like for you now? Looking forward to a few more years of swimming and having a couple years under your belt here in Charlottesville and working with Todd.
I'm honestly really excited. I feel like I can't quite put words to it because I think I've been here for around 3 years now, but I feel like time has flown by and it hasn't been very long at all. And I'm honestly grateful for the Stanford experience. I think it was good. I was a big homebody, and I never thought I was going to move away from North Carolina. And so taking the leap and living in California for a year, I think helped really grow my independence and confidence. And then being able to transfer here and be surrounded literally by Team USA in the East Coast, as I know Todd likes to call it, I think it really helped because I was kind of a big fish in a little pond at North Carolina. And here you're kind of a small fish in a really big pond. So it's kind of easy to get lost in all of that, but I think that experience at Stanford helped me just kind of find my own feet, find my own ground, and then just being able to really bounce off that here and have Todd and all the rest of the girls who push me every day kind of cultivate that into something really special.
Thank you. And you're also a stats major, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe comment a little bit on that. Do you study your own time statistically? Are you using? Yeah.
I've actually been cautioned against that by Todd because I tend to get
You can overthink things.
I get too into the weeds of it and try to find really, really, really small advantages when really it's just you got to trust yourself and
your coach who
hope
is
for the
doing that.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gretchen, when the world thinks of you, they think of world records, and I can't even imagine the pressure that comes along with that. So we'll drop that. But who were you before all of that? Before you became the star and before Paris? Who were you?
I always have had the same goals in swimming to be, on the Olympic team, to be an Olympian, whether that came with medals or world records, I never knew. But I knew that I was going to accomplish, a lot in the sport once I got to UVA. I feel like I've told this story a few times where I was definitely struggling post-COVID in high school. I went to 2021 trials and I didn't make the team, and that was pretty defeating for me. And looking back, like I had way too many distractions going on in my life, and I just wasn't focused or ready, and I wasn't in a good mental state. But once I got to UVA, like I just felt like a certain way when I dove in the water that I hadn't felt like since back in 2019 at Junior Worlds that year, which was like up to that point the best meet of my life. And that's not all I wanted out of swimming. I didn't want to just be a world junior champion. I wanted to be a world champion. And I think that, it took a lot of trial and error here at UVA, but I, persevered and overcame things thanks to the team that we have here, the teammates, the coaches, obviously, like, were huge supports in all of my dreams every day. But it finally started to click, and I think that it, at a certain point, was just going to be me taking this sport as far as I wanted to if I just put in the work every day and be coachable, listen. And I think that that's something that I've always been able to do, is just if the effort's there, the times will come, and they have. So I'm very happy.
Yeah, I'd say they have. And if I could add a little bit of color to this, I remember your first semester here at UVA, you took classes in the math department from some of my colleagues who were in my hallway.
Yeah.
Craig Huneke and Valia Gazaki. And they would stop by saying, Gretchen Walsh, she's this, I think you know her, she's a swimmer on the swim team, she's in our class. I taught her about like abelian groups, things like that. So just a funny thing, sort of like Michael Jordan taking abstract algebra at the University of North Carolina. I like telling people Gretchen Walsh knows about finite groups.
Yes, I do. Long time, though, since then.
Right, so there's no quiz.
I need a refresher from that.
No quiz. Kate, I've known you probably as longer than everyone here other than Todd. You've won more NCAA titles than I can count, but you are often described as the Swiss Army knife of Team USA and Team UVA. So for swim nerds who might not know what that means, what does that mean, and what does UVA mean to you in terms of how you earned that moniker?
I mean, I feel like I'm not quite sure what they mean by that, but, I think, maybe that's alluding to my ability to swim a lot of different events, and I feel like I've done a really good job of just kind of getting up and going for Team USA relays and doing a good job with those. And so I think coming to UVA, I had a bunch of events that I'd swam in high school, and I think, Todd and the coaches were really able to use my ability to swim a bunch of different events and their ability to kind of, switch up practices and put me on a different schedule than everyone else to really take advantage of that versatility. And I feel like I was able to figure out how to train for events like the 50 free and the 200 breaststroke, which people don't really see very often. And yeah, obviously I've had a lot of fun being able to swim a bunch of different things and train for it very successfully here.
Do you have a favorite event? I mean, the 50 free is so short. Is it quite satisfying that it's over before it starts?
I think I always used to say that the 50 free was my favorite event just because it was the shortest and it was over the quickest. But now I feel like I tell people a lot that I love to swim the 200 breaststroke. I love training for it. I really do like gliding in breaststroke and getting to take my time with that race and figure it out and play with stroke counts. And so I've really grown to love swimming that one.
So everyone sees the medal ceremonies, but almost no one sees, although Todd mentions that the national coaches come by and peek in, almost nobody sees the Tuesday morning practices in December. So, Claire, and I have this same question for all the athletes. What's one training set or one training block that you'll never forget? Maybe because it was brutal or because it somehow changed you or somehow gave you the confidence you could do something you didn't know you could do before.
I actually have an answer for each of those questions.
Oh, okay. All right.
A set I have fresh off the mind. Todd had us do 50-50s on 45 last Saturday, and he made me do them fly, which I don't normally do that many 50s fly. I would probably do that set backstroke more than anything. So it's hard for me as an athlete to even wrap my head around 50 reps of something. I feel like in swimming, it's typically only 10 to 12, but 50's a lot. And so I think it was a hard set, but a good set just for perseverance and also proof that if you put your mind to something and you just like take it one rep at a time, you can do it and end up finishing. I did cheat though. I stopped on number 34 for a 50.
So she only did 49.
So I only did 49.
No.
But I still think that 34 in a row is pretty good. And I think a training block, I was talking with my other teammates about this the other day, but
For those who don't know, what is a training block?
it's like a set period of time, like a couple weeks where it's just hard training. And I think the time between ACCs and NCAAs is a really pivotal time. Most of the work has already been done because in the beginning of the season, that's when you want to put all your effort in, and that's what kind of sets you up for a great NCAAs or a great ACCs. But you still can't really slack off between that time between ACCs and NCAAs. So last year we had an amazing ACCs. I think we broke like a lot of records, and it was really exciting because we were able to break an 800 free record for a relay, which had been standing for a while. So
If I remember correctly, isn't that a record that went back to Katie Ledecky in Stanford?
Yeah.
It's like a historic one.
it was really exciting because you did really well and you're kind of on a win high, but then you have to get right back to the grinding and work really hard before NCAAs. So I think that time just helps unite everyone as a team because you're kind of in the trenches, but then you go to NCAAs and you set yourself up well, and it's a lot of fun.
We got lucky. We didn't have to do the 50-50s, but I probably would have said that too if I had to do it.
Some of UVA's and USA's greatest moments recently have been in relays. And Kate, you're like a stalwart. Your name comes up for maybe like every relay. How do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Team USA relays are honestly the best part of the meet. I feel like I focus a lot on, leading up to a meet, I'm like, I want to focus on my 100 free and now my 100 breaststroke, to make sure I get on those relays because it's just so much fun to be a part of that like relay, just the group of girls. I feel like it's so fun to be in the ready room together and to get up and, have a great race and hug each other on the blocks. Like it's just such a fun moment that you don't get, when you're not in those relays. And so, yeah, I've loved just being a part of them. And I feel like that is, a reason why, I put a lot of focus on events that help get me on those relays and, help get me, to be a part of those moments.
Trivia question. Have you swum on a national relay in all of the strokes or three of the strokes, perhaps? I'm sure you've done fly.
I definitely
I'm
haven't
sure
done
you've
backstroke in a relay.
Oh, yeah, no, well, I definitely didn't say four, right? So, but have you been?
I mean,
a
yeah,
leg
I
for
feel
all
like
the others?
I feel like at UVA I did fly in a relay at some point, and probably on a national level too. I may have done 100 fly in a relay, but definitely not backstroke.
Let's make that a goal for the future.
Backstroke.
Yeah, wouldn't it be awesome to be picked by a coach to swim the backstroke leg at a national meet?
Might have to be
Maybe
a very
prelims.
low tier meet. Yeah, low stakes.
Gretchen, so Alex isn't here. She's probably on the road somewhere. You said between
Yes.
Nashville and here. But this was a question I really wanted to ask both of you. What's it like going through all of this with a sister?
I do wish Alex was here right now. It's definitely nice having someone that you're, blood related to in such a grueling sport. I feel like we've always had each other to relate to confide in, to be the shoulder to lean on when we need it. And not that like my parents don't get it because my mom swam, my dad did not swim, but they definitely see some of the behind the scenes stuff that, like we were saying, no one else really sees. But just having a sister who's at the same elite level is not only pretty unheard of, it's just a really special thing that I think we both have realized that we can't take for granted because when does it happen where you have someone that you've grown up with your whole life, you're so close to, and you get to experience every single step of this amazing journey together? It's really amazing. So I do cherish the time we have together. I cherish her advice and her just being there for me when I need it. And then same goes, I'm sure she feels the same about me. And it is definitely a relationship where we benefit each other equally.
Great. So this is Who's in STEM. So this is not an ESPN podcast. So let's talk a little bit about all of that. So it's been a great pleasure for me to be a friend of the team and somehow representative of the academic side of UVA to UVA's athletics. It's really been awesome. So thank you for letting me be part of that. So Todd, how does the data, how does the analytics, and how does the science help you become the world's most innovative coach?
Well, I mean, I think that's just it, right? The data and the science is at some level innovative. Not everybody's using it or capable of using it or has the opportunity to collect it and analyze it. So we're fortunate to have had you involved, certainly, because we weren't doing it before I met you 5-6 years ago. So, I think it's something that is going to be used more and more and more in the future, all over the place. But it just allows, I mentioned this earlier, right? Like the amount of work you put in to potentially win or lose by 1/100th. It allows us to find those extra couple 100, so we don't lose by 1/100th, that we win by 1. And the data, the science, the collection of it, the analysis of it, and then the interpretation and putting it into practice day to day is, pretty paramount to, the ability of these athletes in particular to be successful because they're so good. And they're already so good, and their strokes are already so good and refined that we can't see inefficiencies with the naked eye ever. If somebody walked in and watched them swim, they'd say, "Wow, like they look perfect."
And your
nobody's
job is
perfect.
to make them better.
Yeah, right. And so, how do you do that? And so, for every one of them, actually, at the end of a college season, I've always been like, "Holy cow, what are we going to do to get them faster next year?" Because they just did something that, as you mentioned, if you break a world record, an NCAA record or whatever, you're the best to have ever done it. So how do you do it again?
And how do you have the audacity, which this team does, to just make it, this is what we do. Our mission is to break 20-year-old world records or so on and so forth. I love being around that, the confidence, the absolute awareness to, instead of say, we're going to do awesome things, but here's now the plan. How do we take a vision, turn it into a plan, and then how do we execute? So some of the technology that this team works with is remarkable. It includes, I'm not talking about stopwatches, I'm not just talking about spreadsheets. I'm talking about, for example, force hand paddles that capture and reproduce as digital twins an athlete's strokes. I'm also talking about commercially available sensors that record every single moment an athlete is in the pool, where they're counting strokes, how long was each length, so on and so forth, that you meticulously go over for all of your athletes every day. And then there are other tools like accelerometers that measure sources of unexpected drag and deceleration. All of this is science that you, as a coach,
utilize it, and we mentioned this with Claire earlier, but, I don't want them worrying about it. It's for me to worry about. It's for me to, they don't need to stress over it. I'll stress over it. I'll figure it out. And then we'll let them know, oftentimes without even telling them how we know. We just say, hey, this is what you need to work on, focus on it. Here are the drills, here's the technique. And a lot of that is driven by what we're seeing, from the data.
I kind of want to touch on this, but just to give an indication of how Todd has, with this sort of approach to coaching, has improved your swimming. How do you know that Todd, as an innovative coach, is using these analytics to improve your swimming? Are there metrics such as like improve your stroke rate or improve your underwater kick count or so on and so forth? Do each of you have a story that illustrates that? Claire.
I would say in terms of strict numbers, obviously stroke rate's a big one. I think for a particular example, my 200 backstroke, typically my backstroke stroke rate, so like how fast my arms are moving, is pretty slow, and that's just the way I swim. But I think Todd gave me the confidence to really push it in the 200 backstroke and be aggressive that first 100 and really have a high stroke rate. And I think that helped me drop a significant amount of time in the 200 backstroke, which was great.
And just for non-swimmers, what is the challenge that you face as an athlete? What is your body feeling when you increase that stroke rate that is so hard?
So typically a higher stroke rate, you would take more strokes during a lap. And so taking more strokes would then inevitably mean that you would get tired quicker.
And your arms are on fire.
Yeah.
And also you have to kick more to increase your stroke rate, or that's what I find in backstroke. So then that's extra energy output.
Yeah.
And having the confidence that you can finish a 200 as opposed to a 180 is like a huge thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
and he's spot on every time, right?
Pretty much. I would say no one's perfect, but he's pretty good. He's done it for a while.
Same question for you. How is the analytics? How is it that you have evidence that Todd is using this data enhanced approach to swimming in you and your daily work?
Yeah, I feel like, unlike Claire, I'm definitely more behind the scenes. Like, I don't like to think about the statistics at all, or I don't even really like to test because I just don't like to know anything. Because Todd tells me he's going to look at it and he's going to analyze it, so I trust him. So maybe that's why I know that stuff is happening. But I maybe take something into my own hands along with like Todd's input is definitely for the 100 butterfly, and maybe all of my butterfly, and maybe all my freestyle too, I'm not sure, is like the kick count and the stroke count. And that goes for whether I'm swimming in a 50-meter pool or a 25-yard pool or a 25-meter pool. Like, my race strategy is entirely dependent on how many kicks I take off each wall and how many strokes I take on each 25 or each length.
A precise recipe. There's absolutely nothing uncertain about what you are going to execute in an event when you get up on the blocks.
Right. Unless I mess up and like don't stick to the plan, maybe like I did on Saturday. But everything else, if I stick to the plan, it's already set in stone, and like the time will probably be what I think it is going to be. And I think it's cool having the opportunity to play around with that kind of recipe, like you were saying, change the kick count, change the stroke count, see where I can get better.
And what does that do for your confidence, where entering a meet, you know that if I execute the plan, the formula, then I'm going to swim well? Does it take the competition part out of it?
I would say that it gives me confidence in a way, but it also adds a little bit of pressure, because I think in swimming, it is easy, at least for me, to get, distracted or stray from the plan. And for instance, at NCAA's last year, or I guess 2025 NCAA's, my final year of collegiate eligibility, I was doing the 50-yard freestyle, and we had a very specific plan, and I didn't do it. And I didn't go best time, and I was really frustrated by that. And it was hard because I didn't feel like it was appropriate to celebrate that race, even though I had just won. I had gone the second fastest time ever, and like it very much so was still a great race. And I corrected it in the relay later, but I think that in those moments, like when the stakes are really high and I have a big goal, I sometimes struggle under the pressure of my own expectations for myself.
Todd, did you sort of lean into Gretchen after not executing?
Yeah, she got out of that 50, and I was like, you didn't do it right. And it wasn't. And it's funny because we say it wasn't great, but it was significantly better than anybody else in history has ever done, just not better than Gretchen's done. And that's where we talked about, like, gosh, she's already been this fast. What are we going to do to go just a little bit faster? Because I think she would have been happy if it was 1/100th under her PB. She would have celebrated it. And it's, from a coaching perspective, she talks about stroke counts. And when she broke the world record in April in the 100 butterfly, I mean, I knew halfway through the race immediately when she hit the wall in a certain number of strokes, she hit the wall in that stroke count. Because as a coach, I count them as well. And it was her 50 split was pretty fast. I was like, this is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Like I knew she was going to break the world record halfway through the race.
Kate, same question.
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to Gretchen, like every day in practice, we play around with kick count, stroke counts, and, stroke efficiency. And I feel like Todd gives us a lot of tips, and he's like, try this. Oh, and then it's like, if that didn't work, we'll try something else. And so when it comes to races, I feel like we're pretty prepared with our race plan, especially for me with breaststroke. Like I have kick counts and stroke counts that I stick to in my races. And I think with breaststroke a lot, I think Todd has helped me figure out how to get faster without taking extra strokes and wasting more energy. So unlike Claire, I feel like I try to keep my stroke rate low and not take so many strokes, because sometimes when I try too hard in a race, I end up going a little bit slower or just waste more energy and I get more tired. And so I think we've done a good job of figuring out how to get more power out of each of my strokes, focusing a lot on my breaststroke pullout and getting really far off the wall so that I don't have to take an extra stroke. I can cut down on the strokes and conserve energy on the pullout. And so I think that's really helped specifically my breaststroke a lot.
Yeah, you want to be the world's best at the swimming part as well as the non-swimming part. In your event, breaststroke, a lot of the important parts of the race happen underwater where nobody can actually see what's happening, and you have to perfect all of it, and in particular that. We even wrote a little paper about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Kate, sticking with you, we've worked together on papers. We even wrote some like number theory papers.
Yes.
I'm really fond of that. So what are some of your fondest memories as not just an athlete, but perhaps a student athlete? And you're still a student athlete, just a pro one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am unfortunately still in grad school, slowly getting my master's in statistics. But yeah, I think it's been great. I really kind of found a love for statistics. I was always a math person in high school. And so then being able to continue that and find statistics as a major in college was great. And then to be able to find the intersection with swimming was really cool, and getting to work with Dr. Ono. I feel like I remember we did an independent study with me and a few of the other girls on the team. And we were able to see kind of the coding and the behind the scenes work that goes into the digital twins that you created with the accelerometers, and just kind of seeing how all that worked, I found really interesting. And seeing just how, you could see all the different directions of acceleration when we wore those sensors when we were swimming. I thought that was pretty cool. And then, yeah, just being able to continue working with you, Dr. Ono, and being able to write papers and do the number theory paper, like all of that has been, I think, just such an awesome experience. And it definitely is nice to have something else outside of swimming that I feel like I'm interested in and that I really like doing.
Well, thank you. It's been fun for all of us. And the university is really proud of everything that this group has done. We've got to wrap up now. This has been a super fun conversation. One last question for everyone. After Paris and all of these NCAA and World Championships, what's next over the next few years? Maybe LA 2028? Maybe life beyond the lanes? What's one goal that excites each of you?
My goal is going to be an Olympic champion. Easy.
Gosh, I don't really I'm not very good at setting specific goals. But yeah, I think making it to 2028, having a great Olympics, in a home Olympics would be so awesome. And then kind of just figuring out what I want to do after swimming, and figuring out how long I want to be in this sport for. That's definitely a goal. Can
we write another math paper? Once your degree is over, you'll have a little bit more time.
Yeah,
you want to write a paper?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are papers out there, one in particular that just was published called On a Theorem of Douglas and Ono.
Wow.
Really love that. Yeah.
Wow.
I think my goals are more short term right now. We still have NCAAs coming up in March, so UVA has the chance to do something historic in swimming and win 6 national championships. So I think that's the biggest goal right now.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a goal. I think that's an expectation. Todd, question for you.
Expectation. My goal is to help them accomplish their goals, have fun, continue to enjoy what I do, and eventually, long-term, make it to Miami and retire.
I will be there on Friday. Yeah. So,
nice.
Yeah, can't wait to escape the snow.
Yeah,
Palm
seriously.
Beach. I'll be in Palm Beach for a couple days. Well, fun conversation. I've spent my life as a scientist thinking about numbers, curves, limits, distributions, objects like modular forms, and even black holes. But coming here and having the opportunity to be part of and a friend of this program has been awesome. Todd, I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone in Charlottesville and probably the entire U.S. swimming community. What you've done here is, to say it's historic is an understatement. To win 1 national championship is historic. This is epoch-defining. Claire, Kate, Gretchen, and to Alex, who's probably 40, 50 miles closer to Charlottesville by now, thank you for making all of this happen, right? For a scientist and for a coach, we're not in the pools. We're not doing the swimming, right? And so make no mistake, none of this happens without athletes who are world-class in every way. Athletically, in terms of discipline, and in terms of commitment. What everyone doesn't know is the sacrifice, the things that you have to give up to be here today. Well, this has been Who's in STEM. This is our last episode of the season. I'm Ken Ono, Marvin Rosenblum Professor of Mathematics, and the STEM advisor to the Provost.
Who's in STEM is a production of WTJU 91.1 FM and the Office of the Provost at the University of Virginia. Who's in STEM is produced by Ben Larson, Katie Nichols, and Rhea Verma. Our music is composed and performed by Robert Schneider and John Ferguson of Apples and Stereo. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Listen and subscribe to Who's in STEM on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. we'll be back soon with another conversation about scientific and technological innovation at the university.